there is that scene in The Matrix where Trinity whispers to Neo in the noise of a loud crowd, "You're looking for him. I know because I was looking for the same thing. When he found me, he told me I wasn't really looking for him. I was looking for an answer. It's the question that drives us, Neo. It's the question that brought you here." Excuse me. Let's pause there. What question brought you here? When it comes to questions, I remember the basics in this order: who, what, where, when, why, and how. So, who is Allie? And does she pronounce it Allie or Allié? What is story asking? Where is story asking used? Why am I coughing? That's a question I'm asking right now. When is the right time to ask for a story to be told? Why is this talk story asking and not storytelling? How do I apply story asking to my life? So these are the questions we're going to take a look at today. So we can begin with the first: who is Allie? Well, my real name is Alicia, but it's Allie for short. And while I love France, French food, and especially French wine, the French acute accent over my E came early on with my pen and stage name, when I found poetry and the stage. I asked myself what I loved most. And my response to myself was words and wine. So when I found a poem entitled "In Praise of Wine" by John T. Baker, I asked myself another question: why not combine my two loves? And so I decided to educate and entertain with wine in a program named after the poem "In Praise of Wine," which after I cough one more time, I'll begin. These coughs cannot be controlled. The poem goes like this: when I'm no longer here and called to appear up on high that last judgment day, and our Maker begins to examine my sins, I can truthfully then only say, "I do not," I'll exclaim. Now remember the name of the girl of the village that may. I but dimly recall the encounter at all, but the wine was a fine Cabernet. All the times that I strayed, all the errors I made while I wondered which way I should go, of those toilsome travails, I forget the details, but the wine was a fine Merlot. And my deeds on that date, when, sad to relate, I succumbed to unworthy desire, as you might well expect, I cannot recollect, but the wine was a fine Pinot Noir. How I'd hunt high and low for that special Bordeaux, I'd pursue every new Beaujolais, and I'd spend money, Lord, I could then ill afford, when the wine was a fine Chardonnay. So I humbly report all my sins to this court, and I pray for your pardon divine. And as you add up my score, I can ask nothing more than to help turn the water to wine. I would start every session that way, with those words, thinking of those wines. I am an answer to my own questions. Had I not asked what I did, my story wouldn't be what it is. Questions create stories. So, what is story asking? Well, because I created the word, I suppose it's appropriate that I curate its definition. Story asking is the science behind the storyline. It's the navigation of nuance. It's the art of inquiry that invites truth, providing a safe space to be honest. It's not baiting a hook, setting a trap, or leading a witness. It's asking the right questions to get the real answers. Story asking provides a framework, one that's not templated or copied and pasted. It's a structure designed to serve the story with authenticity and integrity. It's a way to help people find their way through the things they're trying to say. Here enters the interview. In its highest, purest form, it's a series of questions with intention. To not force a confession, but to allow a conversation. It's using engagement to support a wide arrangement of emotion that's embodied in the sharing of past memories preserved in these moments and present dreams of future realities. At the end of the day, it's mindful Q&A. So where is story asking used? Well, for one, the pages of AwareNow Magazine, with over 1,000 stories shared. In every interview we publish, story asking is used. Mind you, it is rated O for original and organic content to raise awareness for causes. The intentional asking is required for producing stories that will sustain positive social change. Because this change can only be sustained and scaled if it's rooted in truth, not trends. This applies not only to the publication of stories, but to the making of stories. Your story, my story, and at their intersection. When used at our intersection of stories, story asking can change lives. I remember an interview I did with a woman named Cecilia Baker. I was just diagnosed with MS after losing vision in my right eye. An MRI revealed lesions on my brain and on my spine, along with an official diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. So I did what anyone would do. I got online and I Googled more than I should. And then I connected as much as I could with people who had been there and done that. On Instagram, I searched #MS, and I quickly connected with a community of people living with multiple sclerosis. One was Cecilia Baker. She and her husband had MS. They also had a daughter. In every photo of their little Delilah, a description came along with the post that included #Rett and #Rett syndrome. I asked Siri, "Hey Siri, what's Rett?" But she's actually responding to me now. Siri responded, Rett syndrome is a rare genetic neurological disorder that occurs almost exclusively in girls, more rarely in boys, and leads to severe impairments affecting nearly every aspect of the child's life, their ability to speak, walk, eat, and even breathe easily. I then asked another question, not to Siri, but to Cecilia. I asked her if she wanted to share Delilah's story. I had never heard of Rett prior to seeing Cecilia's posts, and I thought perhaps others hadn't either. Cecilia was thankful for the request and looked forward to the interview. Of the questions I prepared, there was one that I asked for which I'll never forget her response. I asked Cecilia, what is the hardest part about being Delilah's mother? This was her response. When I wake up in the morning, I'm not sure that she will. She then told me that they call Rhett the silent killer, as it's common to take young people in their sleep. Now, I don't have Rhett. My husband Jack doesn't have Rhett. None of our 6 children, Forrest, Easton, Phoenix, Ethan, Aurora, or Espen, have Rhett. How much do you want to bet that the question asked and answer given didn't change my life? Every day I wake up, I remember that others didn't. Other mothers, children didn't. Every day that question asked and answer given. Sit with me. Where is story asking used? It's used every day in our everyday lives when we are curious enough to care. Curious enough to care. It happens in places where we're found seeking answers, only to find ourselves asking questions, resulting in answers that we never knew we needed. Story asking is used in places of learning, where we speak not to be heard and get notoriety, but to hear and gain knowledge. So they say timing is everything, right? So the next question then is this. It's when is the right time to ask for a story to be told? Now. I would say now. And allowing, let me do that again. In alignment, fun word, with our platform, AwareNow Media, we have a saying, a motto, a proverb with purpose. We will no longer ask for permission to change the world. And while we'll no longer ask for permission, we will ask for people to share their stories, to create the change that is wanted, needed, and required in order for our humanity to be sustained. We will no longer ask for permission to change the world. My husband, Jack, wrote these words in white chalk on our black chalkboard wall. We pulled them off the wall and pushed them out into the world to rally society with an invitation to stand in solidarity in support of the human cause that connects us all. Yeah, we're all tied to different causes, but it's the human cause that ties us all together. It is the universal thread of empathy that stitches all of our stories together. So why? Why is this talk story asking, not storytelling? As the question comes before the answer, since we're always only beginning each day in a new way, it makes sense that the asking precedes the telling. Let's think about it. While Q comes before, start again. Does it come before? While Q comes after A in the alphabet. In life, questions always come for answers. As we've just begun, we are in the asking phase. And may we always stay there. The asking comes with dynamic inquiry. The telling comes with a static response. With the asking being the verb, the telling is the noun. Both important for structure and cohesion of knowledge, followed by applied understanding. The asking is a catalyst of thought. The telling, more the endpoint. nowhere to go from there, with the exception of asking another question. So, last question. How do I apply story asking to my life? Let's begin with biology. 2 ears, 1 mouth. It seems that in our human design, we are meant to listen more than speak. Forgive me today. Today I'm defying our design's intention. When we pause and reflect about how we connect, let's be honest. Dialogue is often a masked monologue. We pause only long enough to catch our breath and speak again. Seldom do we sit, get silent, and give space, i.e., grace, for others to speak without thoughts of our own interrupting. Too often we react as opposed to interact. We're a short fuse society, quick lit. We move and talk fast or call it and quit. Focus too much on the coveted destination of the answer. We've glossed over the discounted journey of the questioning. It's the wondering, though, that holds the possibility, and the asking that supports the probability. The asking invites the infinite, where the telling supplies the finite. From the asking that invites variables to the telling that informs with constants, the equation of a story is a masterful balance. So, again, I ask, what brought you here today? I ask not for you to answer, but to keep asking yourself along the way. Happy asking. Thanks for your time and attention. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ali. It was beautiful, so empowering, beautiful story. Oh my God. Does anybody want to ask Ali a question? You can drop on the chat or you can unmute yourself. So yeah, let's see. If not, I have a question. Let's see in the chat. Nobody?
No questions after all that talk about questions? What is going
on?
Allié, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Hi, this is K2. Sorry, I was actually finishing up my workout at the gym, so I am in the car headed back home. But I want to say that was one of the most beautiful talks I have heard in a long, long time. Thank you for that. That was an amazing gift. So I very much appreciate that. I loved how you resonated. It was a song in words to me. So thank you for that. Yeah, I do have a question. Yes. When you look at the world today and you see sometimes how self-absorbed some of its people can be, what are some of the questions that you think as humans we should be asking more?
That's a great question. I think we need to look beyond ourselves. I think the questions we need to be asking are, how are we living our life? Are we living a self-serve life or a life of service? I feel like we need to ask ourselves, am I it, or am I part of something bigger than myself? Oh, I'm sorry, did I cut you off? Were you trying to say something there?
No, I'm listening. It may be for the car thing too.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that's it, right? That we become so siloed. With AwareNow, we have what we call the table of causes, and it mirrors the periodic table of elements in its design, where you have all these different causes, the human cause that's central to them all. And the reason we create all of these causes, this whole cause table, is because for too long we've been too silent. My cause is cancer. My cause is domestic violence. My cause is veterans. Like, we all have these causes, but we forget that there's one cause that connects all of us, and that is the human cause. And so I think when I look at the world and how self-absorbed we become, it's because we've become so siloed. And once we can step outside of ourselves for a moment, that's when we're going to find real connection. That's where we're going to find satisfaction, because it's never enough. It's never enough. And perhaps the reason it's not enough is because we are seeking the wrong things. And we can't absorb all that life brings if we sit alone. We're designed to be together. So that's what I think about that.
That is so awesome. I actually taught a design thinking workshop at a company last week, and one of the activities I do is called a stakeholder map, which maps out how the company culture and the different stakeholders communicate with one another. And the S word, silos, came up. And for you to not only recognize that it's happening in every single company that's on the planet right now, but to take it to an individual level is a huge insight. And I think you're right. I think, people talk about silos in organizations, how different groups don't talk to each other. But then when you really say, have you created a silo in your own life with the other people in your life? Mm-hmm. That again, beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for asking such an amazing question. And I appreciate it. Thank you for your kind words as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.